Imagine growing up knowing your grandfather is the King of England, knowing your great-grandmother was one of the most photographed women in human history, knowing that somewhere across an ocean there is a palace with your family's name on it, and knowing that you have never been inside it. That is the life of Archie Harrison and Lilibet Diana Mountbatten Windsor. 6 years old and 3 years old, too young to understand the war being fought around their names, too young to know that the decisions being made right now, in courtrooms, in palace corridors, in boardrooms in California, will define who they are allowed to be for the rest of their lives. Tonight, we are telling their story. Not Harry's story, not Meghan's story. The story of two children caught between a crown and a coastline, between a family that claims to love them and a system that has never fully made room for them. This is the most important royal story nobody is telling. And by the end of tonight, you will understand why it matters more than any headline you have read this year. Welcome to Royal Report Daily, your #1 destination for real royal news, verified investigations, and the stories the palace doesn't want you to find. I'm your host, and if you are new here, subscribe right now and hit that notification bell, because what we cover on this channel, you will not find anywhere else. Every single week, we go deeper, we go further, and we go to places the mainstream media is too afraid to touch. Tonight is one of those nights. Let's get into it. Let's start with the basics. Because sometimes in the noise of royal drama, we forget that at the center of all of this are two real children living real lives. Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor was born on May 6, 2019, at the Portland Hospital in London. He was the first mixed-race child born into the immediate British royal family in modern history. His arrival was celebrated around the world. Photographs of Harry and Meghan introducing him on the steps of Windsor Castle were seen by hundreds of millions of people. He was the 7th grandchild of Queen Elizabeth II. He was adored. Lilibet Diana Mountbatten Windsor was born on June 4, 2021, in Santa Barbara, California. She carries two of the most significant names in royal history. Lilibet, the private nickname that Queen Elizabeth used her entire life, given to her as a child and used by those closest to her until the very end. And Diana, the name of the mother Harry lost at 12 years old, the woman whose absence has shaped every decision he has made since. Both children are American citizens, born to an American mother. Both children are also British citizens, born to a British father who is the son of the King of England. They exist in two countries, two legal systems, two cultures simultaneously. And that duality, that beautiful, complicated, impossible duality, is the story of their entire lives. If you want to understand the full truth of what these children face, subscribe to Royal Report Daily right now. Because what comes next is the part that will genuinely shock you. Here is a fact that most people do not know. Under British royal law, specifically the letters patent issued by King George V in 1917 and updated over the decades since, the grandchildren of the reigning monarch are entitled to the titles of Prince and Princess. When King Charles III was crowned in May 2023, Archie and Lilibet became his grandchildren in the reigning line, which means, under the law as written, they became entitled to be called Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet. Harry and Meghan confirmed this in their Netflix documentary in December 2022. They stated clearly that their children now qualified for titles under the updated succession rules. And yet, in everyday life, in public statements, in the way the palace communicates, those titles have never been warmly, formally, institutionally embraced the way the titles of William's children were. Prince George, Princess Charlotte, Prince Louis. Their titles were announced, celebrated, confirmed immediately. For Archie and Lilibet, the process has been slower, quieter, more complicated. And that difference, that gap between what the law says and what the institution does, tells you everything about where Harry's children stand inside the royal family. They are entitled on paper, but paper and belonging are two very different things. And for two children growing up in California, the distance between those two things is the distance between who they are and who they could have been. King Charles III is Archie and Lilibet's grandfather. He has met Lilibet only a handful of times. She was born in America. She grew up in California. The visits have been rare, carefully managed, and always complicated by the tension between her parents and the palace. In February 2024, Charles was diagnosed with cancer. the world held its breath. Harry flew to London immediately, alone, without Meghan, and spent approximately 45 minutes with his father. 45 minutes. Then he flew back to California. Archie and Lilibet did not come. Now, there are completely understandable reasons for that. They are very young. The situation was sensitive. The media pressure around any Sussex appearance in the UK is immense. But the image that remains is this: a grandfather fighting cancer, 2 grandchildren across an ocean, a visit measured in minutes. Charles has spoken publicly about wanting to repair his relationship with Harry. In interviews and through palace sources reported by the BBC and The Times, he has expressed genuine sadness about the distance. He is a man who, by all accounts, loves his grandchildren. But love and proximity are not the same thing. And Archie and Lilibet are growing up without the kind of easy, casual, drop-in relationship with their grandfather that most children take for granted. They will not remember impromptu Sunday lunches at Sandringham. They will not have memories of riding horses at Balmoral or running through the gardens at Windsor. Their grandfather is the King of England, and he is also, in the most practical sense, largely absent from their daily lives. Like this video right now if this story is hitting different. And subscribe to Royal Report Daily, because what comes next is about the cousins Archie and Lilibet have never really had the chance to know. Prince George is 11 years old. Princess Charlotte is 9. Prince Louis is 6, the same age as Archie. They are cousins. They share grandparents. They share great-grandparents. They share a last name. And by most accounts, they have barely spent any time together. When Harry and Meghan left the UK in 2020, the children were very young. Archie was not yet 1. The family split happened before these cousins had any real chance to build a relationship. Since then, the occasions when all 5 children have been in the same place at the same time can be counted on one hand. The Queen's Platinum Jubilee in 2022. The Queen's funeral in September 2022, where photographs of George, Charlotte, Archie, and the family together became some of the most discussed images of that entire period. And that is largely it. George is being raised to be king one day. He is being prepared, quietly and deliberately, for the weight of the crown. He attends school in Windsor. He lives inside the institution. Archie is being raised in Montecito, California, attending a local school, living what Harry and Meghan have described as a normal, free, private life. These 2 boys are the same generation. They are family, and they are growing up in completely different worlds, shaped by completely different values, surrounded by completely different people. What happens when they are adults? What is the relationship between a future king of England and his cousin who grew up in California? Nobody knows. But the foundation, or the lack of it, is being laid right now, in these childhood years when relationships are formed and identities are shaped. On May 6, 2023, Archie's 4th birthday, King Charles III was crowned at Westminster Abbey. It was one of the most watched moments of the decade. The entire royal family gathered. William and Kate were there. George, Charlotte, and Louis were there. George serving as a page of honor to his grandfather, dressed in ceremonial uniform, standing in the Abbey as history was made around him. Harry was there, sitting in the 3rd row, without a ceremonial role, leaving the same day. And Archie and Lilibet were not there. On Archie's own birthday, his grandfather was crowned king, and Archie watched from California. Harry and Meghan explained they wanted to protect their children from the intense media pressure that would have surrounded any Sussex appearance at the coronation. That is a completely valid parenting decision, but the absence carried weight that went beyond logistics. George stood in Westminster Abbey and participated in one of the most significant ceremonies in British history. He will carry that memory for the rest of his life. It will be part of who he is. Archie, his cousin, his peer, the boy born the same year, was not there. And the contrast between those 2 experiences, between those 2 childhoods, is the clearest picture we have of what Harry's decision to leave the royal family has meant for his children. Not just for him, for them. Do not go anywhere. Subscribe to Royal Report Daily and turn on notifications, because the next part of this story is the one that answers the question everyone is really asking. What kind of future do these children actually have? There is one name that hangs over everything in this story: Diana. Princess Diana died on August 31, 1997, in a car crash in Paris. Harry was 12 years old. He has spoken repeatedly in interviews, in therapy discussions, in spare, about the trauma of losing his mother, about the grief he was never allowed to properly process, about the way the institution moved on while he was still broken inside. And now Harry is raising two children who carry Diana's legacy in their very names. Lilibet Diana. Her middle name is not an accident. It is not a coincidence. It is Harry's most personal statement, his way of keeping his mother present, of making sure she is part of his children's identity even though she died before they were born. But there is something else Diana represents in this story. A warning. Diana was a woman who did not fit comfortably inside the royal institution, who struggled with its rules, its coldness, its demand for silence, who eventually became more powerful as a symbol outside the palace than inside it, and who, ultimately, paid the highest possible price for the life she tried to build. Harry has said explicitly that one of his driving fears, the fear that pushed him to leave the UK, to fight for private security, to challenge the British government in court, is that what happened to his mother could happen to his wife, or to his children. That fear is not paranoia. It is the lived experience of a man who watched his mother destroyed and then watched the same machine turn its attention to the woman he loved. And it is the context in which every decision about Archie and Lilibet's upbringing must be understood. Harry is not just raising two children. He is trying to break a cycle, to give his children the safety and freedom his mother never had. Whether he is succeeding, and at what cost, is the question that defines his entire life right now. Archie is 6. Lilibet is 3. One day, sooner than anyone is ready for, they will be teenagers, then adults, and they will have to answer questions that no child should have to face. Who am I? Am I British or American? Am I royal or civilian? Do I want a relationship with the family that treated my parents as outsiders? Do I want to reconnect with the institution my father walked away from? Do I want to be part of the crown story, or do I want to write my own? These are not small questions. They are identity questions, the kind that take years to work through. And unlike most children, Archie and Lilibet will have to work through them in public. Because no matter how private a life Harry and Meghan build in California, the moment these children turn 18, the world will want to know. Will Archie claim his title? Will Lilibet? Will they visit the UK? Will they meet the king, their grandfather, before it is too late? Will they stand beside their cousin George one day? Or will the distance between them become permanent? Nobody has those answers yet. Not Harry, not Meghan, not the palace. Because children grow into their own people. They form their own opinions. They ask their own questions. And whatever story their parents have told them about why they left, about what the royal family did, about what the palace represents, one day Archie and Lilibet will decide for themselves whether they believe it. Here is what we know for certain. Archie and Lilibet are loved by their parents fiercely and completely. They are growing up in a beautiful home, in a warm climate, with every material comfort a child could want. By the measures that matter most in childhood, safety, love, stability, they are doing well. But there is something else children need alongside safety and love. They need identity. They need to know where they come from. They need to understand the full story of who they are. And that story, for Archie and Lilibet, is complicated in ways that most children never have to face. They come from a family that ruled an empire. They come from a woman who changed what it meant to be a princess. They come from a man who gave up everything for love and then watched that love become the most complicated chapter of his life. They carry a grandmother's nickname and a grandmother's legacy in their very names. And they will grow up knowing that across an ocean, in a palace they have never slept in, history is being written, and their chapter in it is still uncertain. That uncertainty is not their fault. It was never their fault. They are children. And children deserve more than to be caught in the middle of something they did not create and cannot control. Whatever happens next between Harry and the palace, between Meghan and the institution, between the Sussex family and the crown, the world should never lose sight of the two small people at the center of it all. Archie, Lilibet, two children between two worlds, and a future that nobody, not even the King of England, can predict. That is all for tonight's investigation on Royal Report Daily. If this video made you think, made you feel, or made you see this story differently, hit that like button right now. It takes 1 second, and it means everything to this channel. Subscribe if you have not already, and turn on notifications, because we post new investigations every week and you do not want to miss what is coming next. Share this video with one person who follows the royal story, because the more people who know the real truth, the better. I'm your host. This has been Royal Report Daily. Stay informed, stay royal, and I will see you in the next one. 2 children, 1 impossible question. Subscribe to Royal Report Daily and be here when the answer finally comes.